Front Page for Friday, June 10th, 2022. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. The Select Committee on the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol staged their first primetime hearing to lay out a case that former President Trump tried to overturn the presidential election, resulting in the violent attack. Mika Sellner and Joseph Clark report it was the first of several primetime hearings conducted by a committee created last year by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to investigate the cause of the attack by Trump supporters. Thompson opened the hearing with a video of Trump's Attorney General Bill Barr, who told the committee he didn't believe the president's claim that voting irregularities and fraud caused him to lose the election and that he should take steps to stay in office. The hearing also featured previously unseen material of hundreds of rioters violently breaking into the Capitol, shoving past police, and forcing their way through doors and windows. Hopes that the United States could seize on the Summit of the Americas this week to counter China's growing influence and investment clout in Latin America appear to be falling flat. In speeches at the summit, Guy Taylor reports neither President Biden nor Vice President Harris made a single direct mention of China or the trade and infrastructure lending deals companies linked to China have made with countries in the region. The official State Department schedule for the gathering also made no mention of China. White House officials have suggested that the decision to avoid direct mention of China was calculated. Driven by a post-pandemic boom, federal revenue will reach levels not seen in 2 decades, with individual taxes paid driving much of that surge. That news, combined with less pandemic-related spending, is helping tame the budget deficit, Stephen Dinan reports. It will come in around $1 trillion this year, after being roughly $3 trillion each of the past 2 years. The Congressional Budget Office said the surge comes chiefly from individual income taxes, which account for 10.6% of gross domestic product this year. A reminder that you can find these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. Also a reminder to find our entire lineup of Washington Times podcasts at WashingtonTimes.com/podcasts. The Washington Commanders' pursuit of a new NFL stadium suffered 2 big setbacks, as both Virginia and D.C. officials have tabled efforts to build a new home for the scandal-plagued franchise. In Virginia, Matt Paris reports the state legislature pulled the plug on a bill that would have paved the way to luring the Commanders after 2 lawmakers who sponsored the bill confirmed the General Assembly will not take it up this year. Delegate Barry Knight, who sponsored the House piece of legislation, told Matt the bill won't be brought up for the rest of this year, but didn't rule out it being brought up next year. Additionally, a majority of the D.C. Council voiced opposition to building the Commanders a stadium on the old RFK Stadium site in Washington, a blow to the team's pursuit to return to the city. 7 members of the 13-person council sent a letter to D.C. Congressional Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton, who has worked to introduce a bill that would allow the city to buy the site from the federal government. The council members wrote in the letter they don't oppose the city's pursuit of the federal land, but made it clear that the Commanders aren't welcome. And finally, Susan Friecchio has the story of one American Airlines passenger who claims a false accusation by the airline left him in jail for more than 2 weeks. Arizona native Michael Lowe is suing the airline after he says they wrongly identified him as the person who burglarized a duty-free shop at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport in May of 2020. The charges were finally dropped after Lowe hired a lawyer who made detectives compare the video of the suspect with a photo of Lowe. In a statement, a spokesperson for American Airlines didn't answer questions about why it identified Lowe in the first place. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in any major podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.